A wise person does not judge a story by listening to only one voice. They listen until the whole truth speaks. Today, I stand before you to address a delicate issue that sits quietly in many schools, yet carries a heavy weight: the relationship between parents, teachers, and children when discipline is involved. Let me begin with a question. When a child comes home and says, "Teacher was unfair to me," what should a parent do? Should the parent immediately pick up the sword of anger? Should they declare the teacher guilty before hearing the other side? Or should they first search for the truth? Because, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the loudest voice is not always the truest voice. A child comes home with a sad face. The school bag is dropped on the floor. The tears begin to flow. And the words come. "Mummy, Daddy, the teacher hates me. The teacher punished me for nothing." Immediately, the parent's heart breaks. And we understand why. A parent's love is powerful. A parent's instinct is to protect. A parent sees their child as a precious gift entrusted to them by God. But here is where wisdom must enter. Because sometimes, without realizing it, a parent may defend the child before discovering the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, children are beautiful gifts, but they are still growing. They are learning. They are discovering the difference between right and wrong. And sometimes, just sometimes, a child may tell a story from their own perspective. A story where they are always the victim and never the participant. A child may say, "Teacher shouted at me." But they may forget to mention, "I was disturbing the class." A child may say, "Teacher embarrassed me." But they may forget, "I refused to follow instructions several times." A child may say, "Teacher punished me because they don't like me." But they may forget, "Teacher corrected me because they care about my future." Ladies and gentlemen, a teacher who corrects a child is not necessarily an enemy. A teacher who disciplines a child is not necessarily cruel. Sometimes correction is an expression of love. A farmer does not hate a tree when they cut off harmful branches. They do it because they want the tree to grow stronger. A parent does not hate a child when they say, "Do better." They do it because they want the child to become better. And so does a teacher. But sadly, we are living in times when some teachers are afraid to correct children. Because they fear that a simple correction will become a family war. They fear that a lesson in responsibility will become an accusation. They fear that discipline will be misunderstood as hatred. And when children learn that every mistake will be defended, they may stop learning accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, a child needs two strong pillars: a loving parent at home and a responsible teacher at school. If one pillar attacks the other, the child falls. Parents, your child needs your love. But your child also needs your honesty. Before asking, "Why did the teacher punish my child?" What happened before the punishment? Before judging, did the teacher wrong my child? Did my child play a part in this situation? Because protecting a child does not mean hiding their mistakes. True love does not cover every mistake. True love teaches the child how to rise above mistakes. Teachers, on the other hand, must also remember that discipline must come with dignity. A child is not a problem to be defeated. A child is a future to be developed. Correction should build, not destroy. Guidance should restore, not shame. Ladies and gentlemen, a child's voice deserves to be heard. A teacher's voice deserves to be respected. A parent's concern deserves to be considered. But truth deserves to be the final judge. Let us not create a generation where children learn that tears can replace responsibility. Let us not create a society where teachers are enemies and parents are soldiers fighting against them. Instead, let us create a partnership where parents say, "Teacher, help me understand what happened." And teachers respond, "Parent, let us work together to help this child grow." Because the goal is not to prove who is right. The goal is to raise a child who becomes right. A child who knows respect. A child who accepts correction. A child who understands responsibility. So today, let us remember, a teacher is not the enemy of a child. A parent is not the enemy of a teacher. The real enemy is misunderstanding. Let us listen before judging. Let us investigate before accusing. Let us correct with love. Because every child deserves not only protection, but preparation for the real world. Thank you.